Working papers provide information on the following matters: information about audit team members and the work allotted to them, information regarding unallocated work. These are all provided in the working papers. Not only that, whether he follows all the applicable standards on auditing or not, this information also included in the audit working papers. He properly plans audit or not, whether there was proper supervision over the work performed, enabling the audit team members to be responsible for the work performed by them. Then an auditor undertakes an appropriate review or not, then whether the evidence is relevant, sufficient and appropriate to support the opinion of the auditor. These all information is included in the audit working papers. These provide the above information to the auditor. Introduction for internal control. Now we are going to see about the internal control. What is internal control? Just we are moved to meaning of internal control. Before we give some introduction for this. Internal control comprises of the plan of the organization and all the coordinate methods and measures adopted within a business to safeguard its assets, check the accuracy and reliability of its accounting data, to promote operational efficiency, and to encourage adherence to prescribed managerial policies. Meaning of internal control. Internal control and accounting system design. Internal control as designed in accounting and auditing. It is a process for assuring achievements of an organization objectives in operational effectiveness and efficiency, reliable financial reporting and compliances with laws and regulations and policies. This control is called internal control. Definition of internal control. Definition of internal control is defined by the Council of Chartered Accountants of India. Refers to internal control system. It is the whole system of controls, financial or otherwise, established by the management in the conduct of a business, including internal check, internal audit and other forms of control. From this definition, it is understood that it is a whole system of control established by the management in order to carry on the business in an orderly manner. So, safeguard its assets and secure accuracy and reliability of records. Features of internal control system. Clear-cut chart showing the powers and responsibility is prepared. So it explains the flow of work in the control mechanism. Next one, the powers, role, responsibility and authorization of personnel conducted with the internal control are to be spelled out clearly. Then work is divided to various components, so they are allocated to the individuals on the basis of the skill, ability and competency. The next one, internal control system are changed according to the change in environment of your concern, because in business environment also change time by time. According to the changes in the environment, internal control system also changed. And then last one, record keeping responsibility is to be divorced from operational responsibility. Their responsibility can be divided into record keeping responsibility and then operational responsibility. So each and every staff of the audit staff definitely accountability for us or her work. Objectives of internal control system. The objectives of internal control relate to the assurance, not only about the reliable financial reporting and compliances, but also with regard to the effectiveness and efficiency of operations. Internal control is therefore also concerned with the achievement of performance objectives such as profitability. Then, to ensure that the business transaction takes place as per the general and specific authorization of the management. It is another objective of internal control. Then next one, to make sure that there is a sequential and systematic recording of every transaction with the accurate amount in the respective account and in the accounting period in which they take place. So it confirms that the financial statement fulfill the relevant statutory requirements. Definitely the internal control fulfill the relevant statutory requirements. Then to provide security to the company's asset from unauthorized use. For this purpose, physical security systems are used to provide protection such as security guards, anti-theft devices, surveillance cameras, etc. These are all coming under this security to company asset from unauthorized use. This is to provide, this is one of the important objectives of the internal control. The next one, to compare the asset in the record with that of the existing one. Record இருக்க அசட்டோ எக்ஸிஸ்டிங்காக இருக்க அசட்டோ ஒன்றா இருக்கான்றதை கம்பேர் பண்ணி அதுவும் எப்போனா அட் ரெகுலர் இன்டர்வல்ஸ் அண்ட் ரிப்போர்ட் தோஸ் சார்ஜ் வித் கவர்னன்ஸ் இன் கேஸ் எனி டிஃப்ரெண்ட் இன் ஃபவுண்டு. சப்போஸ் அதில் ஏதாவது டிஃப்ரென்ஷியேஷன் நம்ம பண்ணோம், டீவியேஷன் இருக்குது, எக்ஸிஸ்டிங் அசட்டுக்கும் ரெக்கார்டில் இருக்க அசட்டுக்கும் நடுவில் ஏதாவது டிஃப்ரென்ஸ் இருக்குது அப்படின் போது அதை வந்து என்ன டிஃப்ரென்ஸுன்றதை ஃபவுண்ட் பண்ணுறது அடுத்த ஆப்ஜெக்டிவ். நெக்ஸ்ட் ஒன் we have to move to next one, to evaluate the system of accounting for complete authorization of the transactions. All the transactions are complete authorized by the particular authorized person. எல்லா டிரான்சாக்ஷனும் கரெக்டாக பர்டிகுலரான ஆத்தரைஸ்டு பர்சனால் டிரான்சாக்ட் ஆயிருக்கா அப்படின்றத என்ன பண்ணணும்னா வெரிஃபை பண்ணுறது இதோட அடுத்த ஆப்ஜெக்டிவ். நெக்ஸ்ட் ஒன்று, டு ரிவ்யூ த ஒர்க்கிங் ஆஃப் த ஆர்கனைசேஷன் அண்ட் த லூப் ஹோல்ஸ் இன் த ஆப்ரேஷன்ஸ் அண்ட் டேக் நெசசரி ஸ்டெப்ஸ் ஃபார் இஸ் கரெக்ஷன்ஸ். ஒர்க்கிங் ஆர்கனைசேஷனில் ஏதாவது லூப் ஹோல் இருக்குது, some of the persons make any error or mistakes, they can have any idea to escape from this errors and escape from this fraud அப்படின் பொழுது அதை மாதிரியான ஏதாவது இருக்கா, how to overcome this problem அப்படின்றதையும் ஃபைண்ட் அவுட் பண்ணுறது இன்டர்னல் கண்ட்ரோல் சிஸ்டமோடைய அடுத்த செக்கப். Next objective அப்படின்னு பார்த்தோம்னா, to ensure there is optimum utilization of the firm's resources, because internal check is the self check. That means management make a self check to safeguard his assets operation efficiency. So the optimum utilization of firm's resources கரெக்டாக யூஸ் பண்ணியிருக்காங்களா. optimum utilization of firm's resources means man, materials, machinery and money both are all used as per the properly to attain the goal அப்படின்றத செக் பண்ணுறது தான் அடுத்த ஆப்ஜெக்டிவ். நெக்ஸ்ட் ஒன், to find out whether the financial statement are in alignment with the accounting concept and principles. All the financial statements are following or compliant with the government accounting standards and as per the statutory requirements அப்படின்றத ஃபைண்ட் அவுட் பண்ணுறது. Then final one, permitting access to asset only with the authorization of management. And these are all the objectives of internal control. An ideal internal control system of an organization is one that ensures that best possible utilization of the resources and the two for the intended use and helps to mitigate the risk involved in concerning the wastages of organization funds and other resources. அதாவது இதோட முக்கியமான ஆப்ஜெக்டிவ்ஸ் அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, ஐடியலாக எந்த ரிசோர்ஸஸும் இல்லாமல் ஐடியலாக இருக்க ரிசோர்ஸஸை கூட எப்படி நாம் வந்து பாசிபிலிட்டிஸோட இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் பண்ணுற மாதிரி யூஸ்ஃபுல் பண்ண முடியும் அப்படின்றத இன்டென்ட்டோட பார்க்கறது தான் இதனுடைய ஆப்ஜெக்டிவாக இருக்குது. Types of internal control. Internal control have three types. First one, preventive controls. Second one, deductive controls. Third one, corrective controls. What is preventive controls? These controls are introduced in the firm to stop errors and irregularities from taking place. Then deductive controls means these controls are implemented to review errors and irregularities once they take place. And corrective control means these controls are designed to take corrective action for removing errors and irregularities after they are detected. Preventive controlsல என்ன மாதிரியான errors இருக்கு irregularities இருக்குன்றதை ஸ்டாப் பண்ணுவாங்க, ப்ரிவென்ட் பண்ணுறது. டிடெக்டிவ்னா எந்தெந்த இடத்துலலாம் ரிவியூவல்ஸ் எரர்ஸும் irregularities இருக்குன்றதை டிடெக்ட் பண்ணுறது. Correctiveness, after the completion of detective control, what are the steps we have to take for removing these errors and irregularities அப்படின்றத பார்க்கறது corrective control. ஓகேவா? So the internal control system is important in every organization for efficient management, as well as it also assists in the company's audit also. So it includes all the process and methods to help the company in reaching its ultimate objectives. Techniques and evaluation of internal control system. An evaluation of internal control system means an examination of the effectiveness of an organization system. By engaging in this evaluation, an auditor can determine the extent of other tests that must be performed in order to arrive at an opinion regarding the fairness of the entity financial statements. These are all the examination of the internal control system. The internal control system examination concentrate such issues. என்ன மாதிரியான இஷ்யூஸில் ரொம்ப கான்சன்ட்ரேட் பண்ணுவாங்க அப்படின்னு கேட்டால், the separation of duties, checks and balances, safeguarding of records, the training competence of employees, the effectiveness of the entity's internal audit function. There are not only this, there are 4 techniques of evaluating efficiency can be followed at the time of internal control by the management. What are the 4 approaches? Now we are going to see oral approach, memorandum approach, internal control questionnaire and flow chart. This oral approach, the description in auditor's own words about the client's internal control system. The auditor found the weakness of during the process of evaluation or reviewed. Generally, the oral discussion is held to identify the strength and weakness of internal control system in force. So, if you want to find out the management what is has strength and weakness, you using this oral approach method. Then next method is memorandum approach. During discussion on internal controls, full notes are taken. Weaknesses are analyzed and suggestions are offered through management. Letter for improvement. And then auditor firm send their client a letter called management letter. At times it is called weakness letter because they are found the weakness of the management. So this letter is called weakness letter. What are the content are included in this weakness letter அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, identifies and notifies to the person concerned any weaknesses in the internal control. Then suggests adequate accounting control. Then suggest improvements in the existing internal controls. The management letter should receive the same degree of care and consideration accorded to an audit report. There is no prescribed form for the management letter. This management letter is also called weakness letter. There is no any specified format to write this letter. What is the main objectives of this letter? To found the what are the weaknesses you have to found. The founded weakness should be mentioned in this letter. Okay, so major aspects are included in the letter with minor weaknesses regulated to an annexure. Next approach is internal control questionnaire. In this type of approach, the auditor collects information about the internal control through the questionnaire method. So it consists of questions of each element of the business. What are the information the auditor want to get from the business? They make the information as a questionnaire form, and a response of the sort yes, no or not applicable. They are giving some options. Remark column is meant for raising questions and identifying weakness about the internal control system. Some firms use an expanded version of internal question system. That means some of the firms is not following the questionnaire method. Some of the method follow descriptive system questionnaire method. This method also following in the internal control questionnaire method. Then last approach method is flow chart. In this method, it is very easier to other than 3 methods. The auditor prepare then a narrative description. A flow chart is a graphical representation. Flow chart means we understand it is a graphical representation. So it shows various operation, control measures and steps included in a systems. These are all through the view of graphical method or graphical symbols. It explains what documents are raised, how they are dealt with, and what the circulation of cash and or goods, what actions are taken, etc. These are all they are prepared as a graphical representation method. So this method is known as, or this approach is known as flow chart approach. Already we saw what are the approaches they are using in the evaluation of internal control. Before entering to this approach or before selecting this approach, definitely the company or management followed the some of the steps involved in the evaluation process. What is the steps involved in evaluation process means, first determine the extent and types of control being used by the client. Then second one, determine which of these controls the auditor intends to rely upon. And then third step, based on this first 2 steps, determine which audit procedure should be expanded or reduced. These procedures நம்ம ஃபாலோ பண்ணலாமா, இல்லை இதை இன்னும் எக்ஸ்டெண்ட் பண்ணலாமா, இல்லை ரெடியூஸ் பண்ணலாமா அப்படின்றத பேஸ் பண்ணுற ஸ்டெப்ஸ். அண்ட் லாஸ்ட் ஒன் ஃபைனல் ஸ்டெப்ஸ் வந்து மேக் ரெக்கமெண்டேஷன் டு த கிளைண்ட் regarding how to improve his system of internal control. The auditor gives some suggestion how to improve the system, how to improve the internal control system அப்படின்ற சஜஷன்ஸை கொடுப்பாங்க. Advantages of internal control system. Internal control system definitely have the advantages. First one, detection of defects. Already we know internal control system is a self-assessment. They detect the errors, mistakes themselves. So detection of defects. Internal control system are structured in such a way only. So employee in a process is checked by another without knowledge of the former. இதுக்கு முன்னாடி இருக்கிறவருடைய நாலேஜ் இல்லாமல் அவர் பண்ண ஒர்க்கை இன்னொருத்தர் என்ன பண்ணுவாருன்னா கரெக்டாக இருக்கான்னு செக் பண்ணுவார். இட்ஸ் brought to light unless there is no collusion among fraudsters. Then next one, time saving for auditor. He can complete his audit work and prepare financial statement within their prescribed time, because one's work is checked by another one without the knowledge of former. So easily if auditor find out the fraud and errors by the report of one checked by another. Okay, the next one is the minimum scope of error, omission and commission and fraud. Each employee does not only a limited work assigned to him, because they are giving division of work, basis of division of work only, each staff doing their work. So moreover, consciousness of his work being independently. Not only that, one person work is checked by another person, definitely it will make a fear or awareness about their work of each and every person. So always they are alert at work. In such a context, chances of commission of error or fraud are very less only. Then last one, operation efficiency. This system enables the management to assess performance efficiency of employee concern. All possibilities collectively contribute to enhance the operational efficiency of organization as a whole. So they are checking internal by the management. What is the what area we are very lack, what area we have to improve, what area we are using unwanted expenses. These are all coming under the internal checking means. Definitely they have to enhance their efficiency and operational efficiency. So these are all the advantages of the internal control. Of internal control system. The effectiveness of internal control system may vary in degree. 100% reliance cannot be placed on any internal control system. in degree. 10% reliance cannot be replaced on any internal control system. எந்த internal control systemனால 10% வந்து ஃபுல்லான ஒரு ரிப்போர்ட்டை கொடுக்க முடியாது. ஸோ வாட் ஆர் த லிமிடேஷன்ஸ் அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, மோஸ்ட் ஆஃப் த இன்டர்னல் கண்ட்ரோல்ஸ் ஃபோக்கஸஸ் ஆன் டிரான்சாக்ஷன் ஆஃப் ரொட்டீன் நேச்சர் ஒன்லி. தே டெண்ட் டு ஓவர்லுக் unusual and extraordinary transaction. They are only concentrated on a regular matters only. They are not concentrated any unusual or extraordinary transactions. The next limitations அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, the management itself choose to ignore the procedure of internal control system because internal control system full and full done by the management staff only. So it has override the control and manipulate the transaction. These are also possible in the internal control system. Then next one, two or more employees is collusion with each other. They make internal controls ineffectiveness. Sometimes they are appointed 2 or 3 members to check the accounts. This makes the internal control result ineffectiveness. Many cooks spoil the food. We all already know the proverb. Like that only. The 2 or more employees collusion definitely make the ineffectiveness of the internal control system. So next one, inadvertent human errors may hamper the efficient functioning of the internal control system. And last and final limitations of internal control system is internal control measures may be expensive to management because it may not be economic and proportionate to benefit derived from it. We are getting benefit from it is very less than the we are spending amount on internal control system. Internal controls comprises of all the plan of the organization and all the coordinate methods and measures adopted within its business to safeguard its assets, check the accuracy and reliability of its accounting data, and to promote operational efficiency and to encourage adherence to prescribed managerial policies. These are all comprises the internal control. Internal control system is a whole system of supervision employed internally by the management of a legal entity to carry on its business in efficient manner. For example, a firm keep an automatic check and balance over its transactions. But internal check control includes internal check, internal audit, other devices of control. Internal control means independent auditors rely on the system of internal control in performing the audit work. This is the introduction for internal control. So internal control அப்படின்போது ஒரு கம்பெனி தன்னைத்தானே சேஃப்கார்ட் பண்ணிக்கிறதுக்கோசரம் அடாப்ட் பண்ணிக்கக்கூடிய மெஷர்ஸை தான் என்னன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க, இன்டர்னல் கண்ட்ரோல் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. அதாவது நம்ம எப்படி நம்மளுடைய எஃபிஷியன்சியை ப்ரமோட் பண்ணுறது, நம்மளுடைய எக்ஸ்பென்சஸ் எப்படி இருக்குது, நம்மளுடைய செக்கிங் எப்படி இருக்குது, நம்மளோட அக்யூரசி எப்படி இருக்குது, நம்மளோட அக்கௌண்டன்ஸோட ரிலையபிலிட்டி எப்படி இருக்குது, இது எல்லாத்தையுமே என்ன பண்ணுவாங்கன்னா செக் பண்ணுறது தான் இந்த இன்டர்னல் கண்ட்ரோல் செக்கிங் ஆர் இன்டர்னல் கண்ட்ரோல் சிஸ்டம். இன்டர்னல் செக். Now we are going to see meaning of internal check. It is a system in which all the transaction of the organization and the related accounting work is conducted among the employees in such a manner that the work done by one employee is examined independently by another employee. This is called internal check. That means, according to this system, the work is divided among the employees according to their capabilities and in such a manner that no single employee does any task or transaction from the start to the end. அதாவது எந்த சிங்கிள் எம்ப்ளாயும் ஒர்க்கை ஸ்டார்ட்லேருந்து எண்ட் வரைக்கும் அப்ளை பண்ண மாட்டாரு. ஒருத்தர் பண்ணக்கூடிய ஒர்க்கை இன்னொருத்தர் என்ன பண்ணுவாங்கன்னா செக் பண்ணுவாங்க. ஸோ இன் திஸ் மேனர் த கம்ப்ளீட் அக்கௌண்டிங் ஒர்க் வித் ரெஸ்பெக்ட் ஆஃப் எனி transaction not allotted to any single person from the start to finish. This is the meaning of internal check. Definition of internal check. According to Spacer and Pigler, a system of internal check is an arrangement of staff duties whereby no one person is allowed to carry through and record every aspect of a transaction so that without collusion between 2 or more persons, fraud is prevented at the same time. The possibilities of error are reduced to a minimum. Features of internal check. The main focus of internal check is prevention and reduction of errors and frauds. And then second feature, it is an ongoing process. And next feature is it is done on a daily basis. Then it is accomplished by allocating the work among the employees in such a way that the work of one employee is independently checked by another. These are all the features of internal check. Elements of internal check. This technique is an integral part of complete system of internal control. So some of the elements is very important in the internal check. What is the first element of internal check? This technique is related to the division of work among the people maintaining the accounts. And second element is, in this technique, no single employee records any transaction from the beginning to the end. It is all we are already study about this point as a features of internal check. So any single person is not beginning to the and end of the work. Then third element is the work done by every employee is examined independently by another employee. And then next element is the work done by one employee is complementary to the work done by another employee. That means one employee work is interdependently or another employee work. Okay. The next one, the aim of this technique is to develop an automatic system for detection of frauds and errors. Then last and final element is the work of bookkeeping and accountancy is mechanized to the maximum possible extent. Objective of internal check. First objective of internal check is to prevent frauds and errors. How they prevent frauds and errors means the internal check is to establish a system which makes fraud impossible or very difficult to commit, and hence employee are disguised against committing frauds. In the same manner, the prevention of error is also one of its objectives. Since in this technique there is provision for compulsory examination of work done by one employee by another employee. The second objective is determination of responsibility. That is, determination of responsibility employee is also one of the objectives, because in this system the work is divided in such a manner so that in case of frauds and errors the related officers can be held responsible. Then third objective is to prevent omission in accounting. The aim of this system is to bring about discipline in accounting so that no transaction is omitted from being recorded in this book of accounts. Then we move to fourth objectives of internal check. The fourth objective of internal check is to increase the efficiency of employee, because the internal check one employee work is checked by another employee. So every employee work as a dedicatable manner. Not only that, they are completed assigning work in a very quality manner. So work is divided into different workers as per the capabilities of worker, so that who are efficient doing such work. In this manner, this system is also adopted in order to increase the efficiency of employees. Then fifth objectives we know now we going to see quick preparation of final accounts. The aim of this technique is to prepare an organization structure of the accounting department in such a way that the accounting work can be done in an efficient and error-free manner, and at the end of the financial year the accounts can be prepared as quickly as possible. Then last objectives of internal check is to case the audit work. The internal check system is also adopted in order to make the audit work easier. In organization where this system is implemented, the auditor can resort to test checking in his examination. These are all the objectives of internal check. Difference between internal check and internal audit. Internal control is a total system. This internal control total system can be divided into internal check and internal audit. Now we are going to see about the difference between internal check and internal audit. On the basis of On the basis of meaning, internal check means a system of allocation of responsibility, division of work, and methods of recording transaction whereby the work of an employee is checked continuously by another. And the meaning of internal control consists of all the methods and procedures adopted to assist in achieving the objective of efficient conduct of business. It includes internal check and internal audit both. And we are differentiate on the basis of scope. The internal check operates in routine to double check every part of a transaction at the time of occurrence and recording of the same. But in the internal control, the work of one person is automatically checked by the another. Then we move to basis of on objective that differentiate between the internal check and internal control. The internal check is to ensure that no one employee has exclusive control over any transaction or group of transaction and the recording in this book. But in internal control to ensure adherence to management policies, safeguarding of assets, prevention and reduction of frauds and errors, accuracy and completeness of accounting records. And then point of time basis, the internal check and internal control may be differentiate. Internal check, the methods of recording transaction are devised where work of an employee is checked continuously by correlating it with the work of others. But in internal control system, checking is done simultaneously with the conduct of work. Every transaction is checked as soon as it's entered. The next basic distinguish between the internal check and internal control is thrust of system. The thrust of internal check system is to prevent errors. But in the internal control lies fixing of responsibility and division of work to avoid duplication. So you have to understand the difference between the prevent errors and avoid duplications. So internal check system is a prevent errors. Okay, but internal control system is avoid duplication work. One work is should not done by another one. And then next one, cost involved. In internal control, division of work therefore does not add to the cost. But in the internal check, the internal system to be costly in case of all small businesses because more number of employees are engaged. Last and final difference between the internal check and internal control is report. In internal check, the summary of day-to-day transaction work as report to the senior. In internal control, provide for built-in MIS report.